Let yourself heal. It's easy to feel. Let yourself heal. It's easy to It's how you choose to remember it. If only we could capture it and its glow. But no.
Well, welcome to our new show called The Great Alignment, since we are in the Great Awakening, and because our work is all psychosomatic therapy, this is about aligning ourselves to our true light and straightening our whole body out into receiving that energy and how the energy comes into the body in many, many, many different ways. So through this series of shows, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. And so my co-host here is Kelly Love, and I'm Carole Maureen Friesen, coming to you from Heaven and Earth Sanctuary, home of the Lightworkers Institute. And we train lightworkers in how to align themselves to their true light and to stand in pride and dignity for who they are. So Kelly, if you want to say a couple of things about yourself and
yeah, just to kick this off, I'm so excited to be a part of the Great Alignment. I have dedicated the last several years of my life to embodying this work, and I've seen it revolutionize and transform my life. And each human I work with to empower them with this language, it is amazing how rapidly they're able to see themselves and align and really get rid of the stuff that's holding them down and holding them back. So excited for the Great Alignment because it goes right along with the Great Awakening.
yeah, and so many people carry so much emotional baggage, and that's what we're here to clear, is to let go of the past, let go of things that have affected us in our life. But we got to dig deep down inside, just like what's happening in the world today. It's so important that we understand history at the same time, understand our own life, and let go of or find the diamonds in the dog shit. The way I usually like to say it is to find the lesson that we were to learn in that, so our soul can move forward and really truly get into our feelings, because as we understand, the feelings are the language of our soul. And it's not, and the more we think, the more we create a cesspool of emotions within our own physical body, because the body is constantly reacting to our thoughts and manifesting what we are thinking. And this comes right from conception all the way to death, and many past lives too, even though we don't get into a lot of things in past life experiences. But it's at the same time, it's all happening in this lifetime. And so I don't know how much we want to carry, and just understand what's happened in our own life and how we can let go of the trauma that has been created. And as we all understand how much trauma we've gone through in the ups and downs, and even in the last few years as a collective consciousness at the same time. And I think, they say about, divide and conquer, but I think we're actually at a higher spiritual level. It's we're coming together as a collective in the trauma, not just our own little villages or our countries, what's happened, but also for the whole world. We've come together and are moving through this birthing canal at this time, and how much trauma and contractions we have to go through, and to come out to the other side. So I think, Kelly, you really wanted to talk about the birthing process today and carrying people in the womb. Since you have been a mother, I would really like for you to explain how you see it, and I'll add in how I see it coming from my perspective, being I've birthed many inner childs for other people, helped them through. I'm a inner child, what do you call it?
Doula.
Doula, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Carole. Yeah, this topic feels really important for current events because we are in a place where the whole world has been traumatized for the past few years. There's no one that has escaped this, right? Some of us have lost jobs, family members, businesses, connections. There's so much that we have lost over these last several years, and stress that we have gone through. And just like these things shape us and form us, not only physiologically, but psychologically and emotionally, what we experience, especially as women, we are passing this on to our children. And many of us are a little bit disconnected from this reality because there's so much in the medical system nowadays that tries to separate babies from their mothers in the womb. And what we understand through psychosomatic therapy and through quantum physics, there's no such thing as separation. There's no such thing. So one of the things that we have discovered in psychosomatic therapy is just how impactful the mother's emotional and physiological and psychological health affects the formation of the baby inside of her womb. So I'm going to share a few stories with you because I'm desiring this to land with you. So first of all,
just wanted to add something there, Kelly. Just even before that, if a person, we found in this work, a lot of people will come in because they can't get pregnant. So they have holding so much trauma to even conceive, and then question if they're going to be a good mother. And a lot of that trauma can happen even before they try to have a child. And so to do the work, we've had a lot of people come through our programs in the last 23 years that couldn't get pregnant. And once they went through the program or the training, they let go of so much trauma. Next thing you know, they're pregnant. So, and I think it's someone, goes even with a little bit, we have heard a lot of stories about women that can't get pregnant, and then they adopt a child, and then they get pregnant because maybe they let go of some of that judgment of not being a good mother. And their experience would come even from their mother and their grandmother and great grandmother, because that healing goes 7 generations back and 8 generations forward in the energy of the DNA. So I just wanted to touch on that before we went into from conception to birth. So there's a lot of stuff even beforehand, and it's important for people to understand if there is a problem getting pregnant, that there is some solutions to it.
Yes. Thank you, Carole. Yes. So I had a baby several years ago, almost 16 years ago, actually.
Wow.
And when she was born, she had 3 holes in her heart, a skin tag on one of her eyes, and a club foot, which means instead of her foot being like this, it was completely turned inwards. And, I remember when I got pregnant, I was still in my religious upbringing. And so there was a lot of shame around my pregnancy because I was a woman outside of wedlock. I wasn't married to this guy. I wasn't dating him. He was actually a rebound. And so for the first 3 months of my pregnancy, I cried every day. I was scared. I had no idea how I was going to make ends meet. The cost of childcare was more than my rent. and I was barely making rent. And so I was feeling so many emotions of insecurity and uncertainty and grief, and also feeling largely unprepared. I was 26 years old, basically a baby when I had gotten pregnant, and I'd also done none of my healing work. And after I got involved in psychosomatic therapy, I got curious and I went back and I did a body mind analysis on my daughter. And I went back
Wow.
and I looked up what her different physical conditions meant. And then I felt into what I was experiencing during that time. And her precious little body was the manifestation of all the heartache and the fear that I was carrying, with 3 holes in her heart, right? Already feeling like she's heartbroken, that she's bleeding from the heart, not getting the love and affection she needs. I mean, the whole pregnancy, I was pretty disconnected. Nobody had modeled healthy connection for me. So I really had no idea what I was doing. And so she felt that lack of emotional connection. And then she had a skin tag over her left eye. It's almost like her soul didn't want to see all that she was going to have to endure in this life. And she also had the cord wrapped around her neck. So feeling my fear, feeling my lack of preparedness, and am I going to be able to provide for this child? And psychosomatically, we understand that when the cord is wrapped around the neck, it's like they don't even want to come through. It's just kill me now, right? And then she also had a club foot. So when we look at bone issues in anyone, these are soul issues.
Which foot?
I believe it was, I'm remembering the photos right now, and it's her left sole. So that's her soul side.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was completely turned inwards. So in psychosomatic therapy, we understand that when a foot is turned inwards, it's hiding, it's insecurity. And so there was a lot of fear from her soul, foundationally, right? It's at the foot, it's at the ankle. So this is our foundation. So from her foundation, wanting to hide.
Mm.
And also,
were you a single mom? Were you a single
mom? Hold on. Actually, as I'm saying this out loud, I realized that her foot is the representation of me hiding my pregnancy for 3 months.
Oh, wow. Did you just get that?
I just got that right now. Yeah.
Wow.
And so this was a little bit challenging for me to embrace this in the beginning, because there's some sobriety to understanding that my health affect the formation of my baby. I'm going to share a couple of other stories of another client I had who was an Israeli and grew up in a war zone. And before she was even born, she was actually pretty close to the Chernobyl blast. Her mom was. And she was in the womb while her mom experienced the Chernobyl blast. And when this baby came out, the legs were completely bowed, and so were the feet. And in psychosomatic therapy, this literally means, boom, it's like a cannonball blowing the foundation out from under them. And so very real, her body was like, oh my God, how am I even coming into this world? Like, it's a war zone. My foundation's already blown out from under me. This person also had the cord wrapped around their neck. So the baby also feeling like, what the heck? I am not ready to come into a war zone. And then this other one was actually really heart-wrenching, where this particular person, their mom got pregnant back when children were, well, there was a lot of shame in the Catholic Church around mothers that got pregnant. And
unmarried
yes, unmarried mothers. And so what this mom did is she bound her belly to hide the baby for the entire pregnancy. And then nobody told anyone about the baby being born. The only people that ever spoke about the birth of this child was the mom and the dad. And this person ended up finding out years later what had happened, and how that birthing experience affected her was, for the longest time, she has struggled with rejection, abandonment, walks around with the head hanging low, cutting off her voice, right? This is a representation of cutting off the voice and desiring to hide, right? All of that stuff carrying on from the experiences in the womb. And so we're bringing this up because what have we gone through these past few years, and how much do our children need us to have the eyes to see them as they truly are and guide them and love them into their wholeness?
Yeah, I mean, there's like, I'm sure it'll be very interesting to see what people go through now, like what the children will be going through, as anyone that's been birthed at this time, and the mother has gone through pregnancy in an unstable world. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to see what I.
Well, while you're looking for that, I also remembered recently, because it's about my daughter's birthday. We just had Mother's
Oh
Day
yeah.
too. Mother's Day was like a couple days ago. My daughter's birthday is on the 23rd. And so every time around this year, my body starts cycling the memories, whether or not I'm consciously aware of it. My body starts cycling these memories. And I've been feeling like, why is my body bringing up constantly this memory of my mom telling me she cried every time she saw me for the first 3 days of my life? And I knew my body was trying to tell me something. And then that's when I remembered my daughter, me crying for the first 3 months of her pregnancy, and seeing how the pattern that my mom experienced with me ended up being carried on in my next child. This is why it's so important, y'all, to really understand our roots, because those issues are in our tissues and they take root inside of us. And whether we are conscious of it or not, it ends up affecting us. And so what we do with body language, and why body language is so powerful, is because you don't need to see the memory to remember it. Your body keeps the score. Your body has the memory. And it's going to show you the patterns that you're holding on to and what it needs to let go of those and create something that is more life-giving.
Yeah, I mean, if you can see the patterns, and instead of it being weeds, you can pull it up and strengthen the roots when you learn what the lesson is. And, because most of the time these things keep repeating themselves also,
Mm-hmm.
until you say, oh, aha, I got it. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
every time it circles around to this time of year, you might say, oh, this is what might come out. There might be some residue that I haven't quite dealt with. So, just go back to that space and start letting more and more and more go so we can grow. And we need to let go of all of this stuff so our soul can have a clear path forward.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
the body never lies. So there's always messages from the body, which we call body language or language of the body. That's feelings, right? That's the language of the soul. And we're a microorganism, and we're not
Mm-hmm.
a machine. We have feelings. Otherwise, we'd all be robots or clones, whatever. So that's our humanness, and it's something that a lot of people, there's a lot of people that have gone so far left brain that they've lost their connection to their own creativity or their own humanness. So that's really, really, not to be scared of having these feelings. It's about acknowledging the feelings and give them life, and either let them go or strengthen them to a positive so we can move forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for that, Carole. Part of the reason why we're also bringing this up is to understand the multiple impacts of what situational trauma does to us even before memory. So when we go through situations that make us feel unsafe, what our brain does is it stores it based on sensory information. So your five senses and your emotions. And it keeps it alive there because it needs something to set off the alarm. Like if something similar comes in your peripheral again, your brain needs something that's going to set off the alarm. And so oftentimes how we reprogram ourselves is by creating new anchor points in reality. And this is why we need to see ourselves as we are, because if we don't know the pattern we're interrupting, then we have no idea how to create the new anchor point in reality. So some of the things that we would look at are attachment styles. How are the children attaching to their parents, to their friends and community? Do they feel secure? Do they feel confident to explore and be creative? If they don't, there's going to be likely some underlying trauma issues. We can also look at patterns, right? This is why it's also important for parents to first look at themselves, see what their own body is communicating, see what their patterns are, because inevitably you're going to be able to track those in your children.
Yeah, Hermann used to say that all the time. People would come to him, hey, I've got a problem with my, 10-year-old child. And he would say, I'm not going to work with your child. I'm going to work with you two. Work with parents, because it's mere reflection, really. It's a mirror of what their own insecurities are. And the children are very influential, especially in the first 3 years. And of course, all the way up. But it's definitely in the first 3 years, because they basically, child comes in and they've got a clean slate, really. Besides picking up characteristics and of the parents and traits, emotional traits of the parents, and then of course their environment and their belief systems. Definitely, like the parents' belief systems have a huge effect on them, and the part of the world they even live in, affects us a lot. I mean, if you're a kid growing up in the jungles of Costa Rica, it's way different than downtown Chicago.
Yeah.
And different fears. The parents are much freer, and everything's much freer. And of course, nutrition and everything else as a part of it too. So that's what's wonderful about this series that we're doing, is like the great alignment. It's to align in all areas of life, not just the body. The body is the key. The body is key because it is, I like to say the word vehicle, but it's not a machine. It's a growing microorganism, just like Mother Earth is. She's not a machine that can be raped and pillaged. She's also growing and expanding with us, and so is the animal kingdom. Nothing like a mama bear. Mama bear is the most fearful animal on the planet.
Don't get between a mom and her babies.
No.
Except that's what's been happening. So now we are going to empower you mamas to actually see your babies as they are and be their trustworthy guides. So one of the things I love to use to immediately connect with children is looking at a face. So the first thing I looked at when my niece was born was her face. And I understand my nephew, it's my great niece. Gosh, I'm a great aunt. Oh my God. Ooh. My nephew had a baby, and he hasn't done his healing work, right? He's been severely traumatized. And when his beautiful child was born, the ears were like this, just completely sticking out. And we understand that in psychosomatic therapy, to understand that child has been through a lot of trauma. And so the first thing to do is get familiar with the language of the face and see your children for as they are. Because like Carole was saying, it's not the children's fault that they are the way they are. It is the parents, it is the environment that the parents have raised the children in. And one of the amazing things about children, all humans, is we learn through mirror neurons. And we get those within the first couple of weeks, within the first year, really, of being born. And we learn by seeing what's been reflected to us. So if a child is turning out a certain way, look at the parents. It's not the child's fault.
Yeah. I like to use an example is like if the mother or father or one or the other, whatever, it is afraid of snakes or something like that. And the child's really young and, oh, can't go there. There might be a snake. And they're already putting the fear in the child. Yes, you have to be careful, but you also have to be very aware how much our own fears reflect onto a child, or if it's a dog or whatever, or don't touch the dirt, you might get infected with something. So really be aware of our own fears as we're working with the children also.
Mm-hmm. Right, because they're taking it on. I mean, I saw a video the other day of these puppies that were born perfectly healthy, but the mother's two back legs were paralyzed. And so the mother scooted across the ground. Guess what the puppies ended up doing? Because that's all they saw their mama doing. That's how they learned to walk. So if you are walking into this world maimed and injured from whatever you've lived through in life, your children are watching you, how you step into the world, and they're modeling that, right? And so we've had a lot of people these last several years show their fear card.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Show their trauma card, right?
Well, it's because it hit us, and who bought into the fear. That's definitely it. And it's not just fear of the so-called
disease.
Dis-ease.
Yeah.
It's a virus is actually an insecurity, and it's a fear that opens up the cell walls and allows the dis-ease into the cells. That's what a virus is, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I think when this first came out, we even brought it up in the masters when you were here when we were doing the masters, right? And the pandemic just hit. Do you remember what it said?
Oh, I don't remember what it said.
I have it right here.
That was many years ago.
Nah, it was 3 years ago. Oh, I'm not sure what it came under. Viral infection?
Yeah.
Yeah. Resentful resignation. They're having the experience that life is being quite difficult, and they're feeling very little, if any, positives in their life. To them, it feels like everything is one long series of responsibilities, traumas, and drudgeries of late. It is a resultant of a grimly getting through the night dysfunctional family. And then the other one, what do you expect? They are bitterly of the opinion that there is no joy in Bloodville. They are, in effect, utterly unable to experience the beauty, good, joy of the universe. They are quite resistive to and resentful of the process of dealing with life. They have the feeling they get every dis-ease that comes down the pike. They are the product of a severely survivalist, self-defeating, dysfunctional system. It had the effect of convincing them love and joy are a joke. And
let's pause there really quick.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Just a couple more words. They can and should have no love for themselves, since they are just getting what they deserve. So a lot of that too could be like older people. They felt they didn't have I think that came under influenza also, that they had no worth in life. There was nothing much joy left. And so really that's what they were after at the beginning, is the elders.
Yeah, I also see it as trying to force a state of being as well. So I'll explain that. In body language, it's a two-way biofeedback system. So however my soul feels about my lived experience is going to manifest in how my body is shaped, mannerisms, posture, patterns, everything, right? And I can take this body, reshape it, and create a new reality for myself. And so sometimes what I think happens is they push a reality on us to believe that we aren't worth loving, and create this whole virus story to cast that spell on us. And what's so powerful about body language is when we go back to the roots of those messages, it's always a bid for love. It's always a request for love. It's either you're doing great or please love me differently. So what I see happening in this great alignment is that we are being brought to our knees in the most loving way possible from our great Mother Earth, because we have not been listening to the smaller messages, right? Just like we can look at how babies are formed in the womb and how their environment affects how they come out, how we operate in this matrix, right? We're not trying to disconnect from the matrix. The matrix is the womb.
Yeah.
We're learning to live in alignment with it. So I see all of this pushing us back towards connection with nature.
Well, and simplifying life, because so much has been in the last, say, 60 years, basically after World War II, is, you know, the woman has to get out of the home and go into, get a career and go into work, where the most important career on this planet is taking care of the family, right? And the mother is the heart of the family and the heart of the community. And it's to put the importance of building back family, where they have ripped us all apart, because a woman, oh, she's got to go get a career, staying home with her children mean nothing. Send them to daycare, send them to preschool, send them to the institutes, for someone else to educate them. Now, I'm not saying, you know, homeschool is the best, but it is probably one of the best, but not everyone has the opportunity. But, you know, they've even taken, you know, the masculinity out of the fathers too. And so we've got to look at all aspects and split the family apart. Both of them are off to work. Who's home with the children, right? And who's protecting the children, and who's brainwashing the children? So
yeah, who's accessing their mirror neurons is what I want to know.
Well, and these are things that, you know, it's just coming back to nature, the nature of who we are. Why not simplify things and, you know, have a nice backyard, and just coming back to the family unit is a big part of it right off the bat. But they're going to try to move everyone into smart cities and take over the children even more, or not have any. As everyone's being sterilized at the same time. So, not everyone, but a lot.
A lot of people, yeah.
But it is a great shift, and if you want to make it through this reset, great awakening, we call it, not the reset, but we are in a reset of humanity as a whole. Now, are you going to come back to the nature of yourself? Your body is that jungle of emotions, and create your own garden within yourself, right? And we see it in Costa Rica here. We both live here, so we live in the jungles, and we see it.
Always life.
Yeah. We see it in Mother Nature too, right? I was thinking the other day, I mean, go into a chicken barn where they're all laying eggs, you know, there's one rooster and about thousands of hens, right? The female is always more important, even as far as You know, a male can impregnate a lot of females, but a female can only have a child every 6 or 9 months, right?
Uh,
So,
Probably less, probably more than that, because there's the recovery time after
oh
pushing
yeah,
a baby
yeah,
through the birthing canal. But yeah, maybe a baby a year, twice if we're lucky.
yeah. No, I was just something that came to my mind the other day that we are the creators and it's the
Hmm.
divine feminine. And the males are here to protect us. That happens in nature. Look at, you
Hmm.
know, there can be many lioness, but one king lion, right? And that can take care of the whole herd. And we see it in a lot of areas of nature.
Mm. So one of the things that parents you're able to do during this time is remember how powerful you are in influencing your children. They're already a mini you. They've got so many of your character and personality traits. They look like you. They have picked up a lot of your patterns. And when you take the time to be able to see yourself clearly, what's going to happen is now you get to see your kids clearly. And the work that you do on yourself, especially mamas, you have such a special connection with your babies through the chimera process. And so when you connect to your children, you can reshape them. For those of you who are not aware of the chimera process, you're about to geek out with us.
Ah,
The chimera process is a freaking miracle, okay? Within the first 2 weeks of gestation of the baby being formed in the womb of the mother, there's this miracle that takes place where they start exchanging cells and DNA with one another. And the theory behind this is that these cells from the baby go to where the mom needs it the most to ensure the best type of environment for the baby to grow in. And then these cells often, the cells of the baby often stay in the mother for a lifetime. And what we understand through quantum physics is if I take my DNA out of me and I put it somewhere else, doesn't matter how far away it is, there is no lapse in time or space between when I get stimulated and the DNA outside of me gets stimulated. So what does this mean on the grand scale? The work you do on yourself, your child's DNA is inside of you, and it is affecting your child. Whether they are cognizant of it or not, it is affecting your child. So that's one powerful thing you're able to do for yourself and for your children.
is
And
that could even be like instinctual telepathy? When a mama bear knows something happened to her bear, her cub,
yes,
a mile away. I mean, that's picking up that same energy field, right?
exactly. And this is why, so many times we'll say, oh, moms have sixth sense. Yeah, they do. And it's a real thing. It's the
Yeah.
sixth sense living inside of them.
Well, they would share stem cells, right? Is that little
I'm
different?
not sure all the cells that they share, but there's cells in DNA that get shared.
Yeah.
And then, get rid of masks. Just get rid of them. Because guess what's happening, y'all? I want you to understand you're traumatizing your children by wearing these masks. Look at this. Oh, you don't need to see all my notes. Look at this. The majority of what children see when they are connecting with their parents is the face. The mirror neuron magic starts right here. So if you cut this off, you are literally cutting off a lifeline to your child's sanity, to your child's ability to fully mature. And we have studies out now that are showing that children are severely mentally delayed, emotionally delayed because of what's been going on for these past few years. So educate yourself on how the body functions physiologically and psychologically and take your power back. Do something different.
Yeah, that's also when you think of it, it's the lower three chakras. It's base, sacral, and solar plex. So you're only showing your heart, the higher ones, and of course, corona, they're after your crown chakra because it's a war on consciousness and to see how conscious people are, because that is the ascension process, is that we're broadening our consciousness. It's not about
Mm-hmm.
And the more broader we can be to see what's happening here and change it within ourselves, the more we can rise in consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rise of consciousness. It's not like the body's going to float off onto another planet. You aren't going
Right.
anywhere.
We're staying here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting how they cover up the mouth and the nose too, because psychosomatically, we breathe through our nose, and breathing through our nose is actually what strengthens our jaw and gives our face the foundation to sit on it. So here we are, muzzling ourselves, not fully breathing in the inspiration of life, not exhaling our inspiration, our creativity. We're covering up the most expressive and mobile part on our face, which is the mouth. This is where all the emotion is seen. I mean, sure, I can go like this with my eyes, squint and go like this, but like so much more emotion is seen in the mouth. And then, like Carole said, covering up our root chakra, covering up our connection to Mother Earth.
The mouth is the most mobile muscle, sphincter muscle on the face. It's also be interesting because I'm very aware someone's got a mask on and they're talking to me. I'm saying, what? And it's, if the children will probably have a different accent because they'll all be, and they can't read the lips either. That's how they form the muscles on the face, is by mimicking the parent's mouth while they're
mirror neurons.
Yeah. Well, we understand that even if you watch, you know, a father and son walking down the street, and the father has got his feet in two different directions, like a duck, the child is usually mimicking him too. He's walking exactly the same because they look up to us, right? They look up to us for direction and also purpose in life.
Absolutely.
And even with children, because we are talking about children, is really important to stop and talk to them and look them in the eyes and right in the face and pronounce your words. Even if it's a baby, stop. Don't talk to a child that's behind you. You need to turn around and speak directly to them. That there means that they are important. Everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, how would you feel if somebody talked to you with their back turned against you? Oh man, this is bringing back a memory of, there was a Middle Eastern family, and in this particular Middle Eastern family, they didn't treat the women well. And the dad would actually turn his back to the woman, to the wife, when he would talk to her. He would never look at her. And then all the boys in the family started treating her like that. Just, I mean, the level of rejection she felt, she walked around like a shell of a woman, hiding everything, not wanting to be seen because she hadn't been seen in so long. So it became this habit of hiding.
Yeah, I mean, those mirror things definitely are so prominent. Even I find in Costa Rica, just speaking to Costa Rican people, is that the woman does everything in the household, most everything. She does all the cooking. And history repeats itself, that the sons expect their wives to do exactly the same thing. Have, you know, really white clothes on the line and do all the cooking. They don't even know how to cook, a lot of them. And whether they...
Oh, you went silent. You went silent.
I did?
Yeah, I can't hear you. I think maybe your earphones got disconnected. There you go.
No, I think I touched my speaker.
Oh, okay.
I was just saying about Costa Rican men. They expect the women to do everything, and their sons grow up the same way and expect, and same as the daughters, they take on the traits of their mother, that yes, it's automatically supposed to do everything in the household, whether they're working or not. They continue that same thing.
So, Carole, what are some signs that you would tell people to look for in their child to see if they have been traumatized? We can play off this with each other.
Well, definitely with posture, as soon as they are starting to hold energy in, especially how their body starts to form and where parts of the body maybe are forming more in certain areas and not so much in other areas, especially along the spinal column. Are they bending over backwards to please others? Yeah, because we understand with scoliosis, that's really starts really strongly around 10, 11, 12 years old, is they feel they can't stand in their power. Uh, like these things are never taught in school. And I think
Yeah.
the more you get into, let's say, alignment with ourselves, even a 3-year-old will start mimicking the parents. And you can start
Hmm.
training them from a very young age how to stand in truth and how to stand in power just by
Hmm.
getting their feet straight. Watch for all these things that we do teach along the way. But it's about coming into our own self, right? And the
Hmm.
more we feel stronger within ourselves, the more you'll bring up strong, healthy children.
Hmm.
And if they're not
Yeah.
looking you in the eyes, if they're scared to look you in the eyes, there's usually some shame will come in. So, but also
Or fear.
fear, but you need to stop and take the time and look them in the eyes and with gentleness and
Hmm.
kindness and recognize if there is some pulling back or
Hmm.
something they're hiding,
Hmm.
especially because a lot of things are going on in the school system that you got to know
Hmm.
about. It's up to us.
Right. Yeah, some of the biggest telltale signs are digestion issues.
Oh, definitely.
If your child is having tummy aches, heartburn, diarrhea, constipation, these are all signs that they're emotionally overwhelmed.
That
If they
usually
have,
starts around 7 or 8 years old, right? Like
I
6, 7.
mean, I started a lot younger. I was traumatized coming
If
out the womb, basically.
if they don't want to go to school, that's another one because they're maybe being bullied in school for some reason.
Right. And like Carol said, lack of eye contact or head hanging low, any sort of like cowering or hiding posture or like this. Those are some few signs that you can look at in your child to see if their needs are not being met. And we are going to be running regular face reading trainings. This is a very easy way to see your child right where they are. And just yesterday, Carol and I met a woman in a gift shop who had a child that was experiencing some eye issues. And Carol took the time to have some conversations with her. And you want to share anything about that, Carol?
Well, she thought it was eczema coming in around the eyes, and there has been, because he's a super sensitive child. And then I pointed it out to her on his face because he was an inverted triangle in the bottom part of his face, that he was super sensitive. And he's just started into a new school. And yeah, I mean, he's probably picking up some of the energies also around fear and not
Mm-hmm.
sure what. Uh, Being in Costa Rica, maybe it's fear of the jungle. Who knows? It's not necessarily, if they've come out of a city and moved into the country, they're not used to this either. So that could be some of it also. And not sure if they've been around a lot of the people like this, maybe picking up some
Shedding. Yeah.
shedding and or feeling insecure at school. But once you can start seeing that, and I also said to her, as I gave her some of the key points for eczema, was maybe to look at her and her partner, the father, if
Yeah.
you experienced any of this stuff that right at a subconscious level might be uh, transmitting to the child.
And that reminds me actually of when my niece first came to Costa Rica, and she was obviously stressed and scared, experiencing a lot of change and loss, letting go of all of her old friends, moving to a foreign country. And she developed allergies. She'd
Yeah.
never had allergies in her life. And of course, my sister wanted to take her to the doctor, and I said, "Hey, let's look up what allergies mean. Let's see what your daughter is feeling that's causing these emotions, this psychosomatic response." So we got into it, and she just needed more TLC. She needed more connection time. She needed to be reassured that she was cared for, that everything was safe. So what did my sister do? She stopped her work immediately, was present with her daughter, rearranged her whole day and the next day to have some solid connection time, to reaffirm to my niece that she was cared for, that she had nothing to worry about. Guess what? Her allergies disappeared.
Wow. Yeah,
So,
they're crying for attention, right? So irritation.
and also feeling allergic, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I don't feel safe. This environment doesn't feel safe, because that's what an allergic response is, right? Something's not safe. It came into the environment. We've got to have a reaction and get it out.
Yeah.
So now my niece began to feel safe, connected, and then her body's like, oh, okay, we can let go of this allergic reaction.
Absolutely. So Kelly, what are we going to be doing in the next few shows here? We're going to be coming to people regularly, and psychosomatic being our key focus. Obviously,
Yeah.
people can learn so much from understanding that psychosomatic, meaning the psyche or the consciousness living in the soma, the physical body. And what a blessing it is to have this awareness of how the body is communicating and has an intelligence of its own, like the body mind connection
Yeah.
is so important, because most people live in their heads and they don't take time to even go in deep into the feelings until it's screaming at us or blaming outside of ourselves, instead of seeing it as a lesson and what can we learn from it. And that evolves and expands the soul. The more we can get into our feelings, the more we can expand our soul's mission. So which is part of what our teachings are all about, and trainings. But you got to train the body, because most of us have left the body on automatic pilot. We don't tell it. We have to learn to breathe consciously, walk consciously, stand consciously at all times. Where's my body? How am I feeling? Do I feel secure within myself? And it's not a false security. It's to understand, if we are feeling insecure, how can we bring light into that part of our life or that part of our body and understand it. So it's good. It's a journey. Psychosomatic training or process or therapy, what we are, the therapist, if you want to call it, we become our own therapist, is a lifestyle. It's a way of life. It's something you do for yourself, and then you can assist others. And so it's an amazing, amazing healing journey through psychosomatic therapy. And it works at all levels. We have to look at physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, all four aspects of how dis-ease, which is just, it's just a disconnect from energy flow through ourselves, through our life, and how it can get stuck in the body as a blockage of energy flow, and what we can do to come to peace with that and bring more love. If you want to, love only means a point of balance. That's all it means. We've got light, we've got life, and we've got love, which is a point of balance in the heart chakra. So when you're in balance, we love life, right? You're not throwing too far one direction and too far the other direction. It's always about coming back to center within ourselves, in full alignment with ourselves, and the crown chakra to the base, to anchored into the core of Mother Earth, and having this energy flow instead of being like a kink in the garden hose. And we need to come back here. And we're going to be talking a lot about this, and a lot about different dis-eases. And yeah, how to come back to center. So Kelly?
Everyday applications
Yeah.
and tools for body language. And y'all, we are obsessed.
Yeah.
We trust that body language is the starting point for human connection and communication. And if we are really to usher in this new earth and live in alignment with our nature, then we got to get on board with the language of our soul. So join us every week. We love you.
Yeah. Love you. Much love.
Mwah.
And just look down below of the video and you can have all our link trees into where to find us. Kelly with Rewilding and myself with Heaven and Earth Sanctuary and also the Lightworkers Institute. And you can also sign up for a free ebook, which is Your Body Never Lies. So with that, we sign off and
We'll see you next time.
Yeah, love the skin you're in.